They say you never forget the sound of your own future ending. For me, it was the silence after the phone stopped ringing. 1995. A man I called a brother took everything, and then he became a ghost. For 30 years, I wondered where that ghost went, what life he built out of my ashes. Then, last Tuesday, my grandson brought him home. He doesn't know the name on his new business card is the same one on my 30-year-old bankruptcy filing. He doesn't know he just walked into the lion's den, as the lion's new accountant. And the ghost, he has no idea who he just hired, but we do, and we've been waiting. What we're about to do isn't revenge. It's a reckoning, brick by legal brick, and the key is in his own house. This story isn't mine alone anymore. It's just beginning. And I need to know, are you with me? Where are you watching right now? Drop a city, a country. Just let me know you're here. It matters. To my inner circle already in the comments holding me up, you are my strength. If you're just finding this channel, don't just watch. Get in. Hit subscribe. Ring that bell. You need to be here for the next part, because when the walls finally come down, I want you standing beside me. The ghost is about to learn. Some debts never go away. My hands don't shake anymore, not like they used to. 72 years old, and I'd made peace with the tremor that lives in my fingers. Legacy of too many nights working warehouse loading docks in my 60s, after everything else was gone. After the business, after the house, after Linda. But last Tuesday, 4:47 in the afternoon, my hands shook. Not from age, from recognition. Joel called me while I was fixing dinner. Chicken and rice, same thing I make every Tuesday. He's my grandson. 26, brilliant, got his master's in forensic accounting last spring. We've only been close the last 3 years since he tracked me down himself. His mother, my daughter Rosemary, she and I don't talk. Haven't in decades. That's a wound that never healed right. But Joel wanted to know me. And God, I wanted to be known. Grandpa Cyril! His voice was electric with joy. I got it. The position at Kingsley Global Solutions. I start Monday. The wooden spoon in my hand clattered into the sink. Say that again, I said. My voice came from somewhere far away. Kingsley Global Solutions. Remember I told you about the interview? The private consulting firm handles major construction contracts, real estate development. Grandpa, this is huge. The owner himself sat in on my final interview, Mr. Ivan Kingsley. He said I had exceptional integrity. Can you believe it? Me. Ivan Kingsley. I sat down before my legs gave out. Grandpa, you there? Yeah, I whispered. Yeah, I'm here. That name I haven't said out loud in 30 years because speaking it felt like swallowing broken glass. Ivan Kingsley, my business partner, my brother, the man who stood as godfather at Rosemary's baptism, the man whose wife Mona and my Linda would spend Sunday afternoons planning our retirement together, maybe a cabin upstate, both families, grandkids running through the woods. The man who forged my signature on $480,000 in fraudulent loans, emptied our business accounts, and disappeared in the night while I slept. August 15th, 1995. I woke up to police at my door and my entire life in handcuffs. Mr. Kingsley even mentioned mentorship, Joel continued. He couldn't hear what was happening to me through the phone, couldn't see my face. He said young people with ethical backbones are rare. He wants to teach me the business personally. His daughter Thea runs the CFO office. She's only 33, Grandpa. Youngest CFO in their sector. Isn't that incredible? Thea. Ivan's daughter. She was 7 years old the last time I saw her, playing in our backyard with Rosemary, both of them covered in mud and laughter. The next week, she was gone. Ivan took her and Mona and vanished like smoke. That's wonderful, Joel. The words tasted like ash. I'm proud of you. I knew you would be. Listen, I've got to run, but I'll call you this weekend. We'll celebrate. Love you, Grandpa. Love you too. The line went dead. I sat in my small kitchen, the apartment I've rented for 23 years, the only place I could afford after selling everything that wasn't seized, and I stared at the phone in my hand. Yvonne Kingsley didn't disappear. He rebuilt, under his own name, got successful enough to hire employees, run a major firm, mentor young accountants in integrity. My grandson just shook hands with the man who destroyed me, and Ivan has no idea. I should have warned Joel right then, should have told him to run, to quit, to never set foot in that building. But I didn't, because something else was happening inside my chest, something I hadn't felt in 3 decades. Not rage. Rage is hot, impulsive. This was colder. This was clarity. The phone stopped ringing in 1995. The creditors, the lawyers, the friends who suddenly didn't know my number. Linda's sister who told her to leave me, that I was a fool for trusting Ivan, that I deserved what I got for being blind. The silence after those phones stopped was the sound of my future ending. But maybe, this phone call was something else, the sound of a future beginning. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at my small kitchen table with a notebook and wrote down everything I remembered. Names, dates, account numbers I'd memorized because they haunted my dreams. The offshore company Ivan mentioned once, casually, over beers. Just for tax purposes, Cyril. Completely legal. It wasn't. And now my grandson, my ethical, brilliant grandson, was going to walk into Ivan's office Monday morning with access to everything. I never believed in divine intervention. But this felt like the universe finally balancing its books. By dawn, I'd made a decision. I picked up the phone and called the one person who might understand, the one person who lived through 1995 beside me, even though she couldn't stay after. "Linda," I said when she answered, "I need your help, and I need you not to ask me if I'm sure, because I've never been more sure of anything in my life." There was a long pause. Then my ex-wife, the woman who left me 30 years ago because she couldn't watch me destroy myself with grief and rage, said quietly, "What do you need, Cyril?" Before Ivan became a ghost, he was the closest thing to a saint I ever knew. I need you to understand that. Because what I'm about to do, what Joel and I are planning, it only works if you understand what was taken from me wasn't just money. It was belief. It was the version of the world where good men win by working hard and keeping their promises. Yvonne and I met in 1984 at a contractors' convention in Albany. I was 32, he was 28. Both of us hungry, ambitious, sick of working for other people's dreams. We got drunk in a hotel bar and sketched out a business plan on cocktail napkins. Kingsley and Morrow Construction. His name first because it sounded better. I didn't care about that stuff. I cared about building something real. We shook hands that night, started the business 6 months later with $12,000 between us and a used truck. By 1990, we had 20 employees and a contract to build an elementary school. By 1994, we were bidding on a hospital expansion. We were brothers. I mean that, not in some casual way people say it. My daughter called him Uncle Ivan. His daughter Thea called me Uncle Cyril. Our wives were inseparable. Mona and Linda would joke that they accidentally married business partners but ended up with a family instead. I trusted Ivan with everything. The books, the contracts, the future. He was better with numbers. I was better with people. It worked, until it didn't. The signs were there. I see them now, in hindsight, which is the cruelest kind of vision. Ivan started traveling more in late '94. Investor meetings, he said, expanding our network. He bought a new car, nothing flashy, but still, we hadn't paid ourselves bonuses. When I asked about it, he laughed. "Relax, Cyril. Mona's parents helped. You worry too much." I did worry, but not enough. There were cash flow problems that didn't make sense, payments from clients that should have cleared but hadn't. Ivan would wave it off. "Banking errors. I'll handle it." And I'd go back to the job sites because that's what I did. I built things while Ivan managed the money. The last time I saw Ivan was August 14th, 1995. Monday. We had lunch at the diner on Route 9, same place we always went. He ordered the Turkey Club. I had coffee and a burger. We talked about Rosemary starting junior year, about Thea's piano recital that weekend. He looked me in the eye and said, "You know you're my brother, right? Not just business, actual family." I said, "I know, Ivan. Same for me." He paid for lunch, left a good tip, went back to the office. The next morning, I woke up to 3 police officers at my door. "Mr. Cyril Morrow, we need you to come with us. There are questions about business irregularities at Kingsley and Morrow Construction." Irregularities. That's the word they used while they dismantled my life. Ivan had been siphoning money for over 2 years. Not all at once, he was too smart for that. Small amounts at first, then larger. Shell companies, falsified invoices, contracts that existed on paper but never broke ground, with payments going to accounts I'd never heard of. The worst part? My signature was on everything. Loan documents I never saw, contracts I never approved. He'd forged them perfectly. Of course he had. He'd been signing my name on legitimate paperwork for a decade. He knew every loop and curl. When the auditors finished, we were $480,000 in debt. Clients were suing. The bonding company pulled our license. Every asset was frozen, then seized. Our truck, the office, the equipment. My house, because I'd signed it as collateral on a loan I didn't know existed. Linda found out the same way I did. Strangers showed up to inventory our furniture. Ivan? Gone. Mona and Thea, too. The house they rented was empty. No forwarding address, no note, no explanation. Just silence. I spent the next 3 years trying to prove it was fraud. Hired a lawyer I couldn't afford, but Ivan had been meticulous. Every signature looked real because, in a way, they were. He'd practiced them 1,000 times on legitimate documents. Prosecutors said there wasn't enough evidence to charge him. Reasonable doubt, they said. Could be a business dispute. A dispute. As if I'd agreed to destroy myself. They found him in 1998, living in North Carolina under his own name, working as a project manager. I thought, finally, justice. But without criminal charges, there was nothing to extradite him for. No warrant. He'd committed the perfect crime, theft disguised as poor business decisions. And me? I was the fool who trusted him. Linda left in 1996. Not because she stopped loving me. That would have been easier. She left because I couldn't let it go. Every conversation circled back to Ivan. Every moment was poisoned by what he'd taken. She begged me to move on, to rebuild. But how do you rebuild when the foundation is betrayal? Rosemary blamed me. 16 years old, watching her mother pack. She screamed at me that night, "You let this happen. You were stupid, and now Mom's leaving, and it's your fault." She wasn't wrong. I was stupid. I believed in brotherhood. I worked whatever jobs would have me. Warehouse shifts, night security. Saved enough to rent this apartment. Tried to stay in Rosemary's life, but she'd grown cold. Hard. She married young, had Joel, divorced. We'd see each other at holidays, exchange stiff pleasantries. I was a ghost at my own daughter's table. Joel changed that. 3 years ago, he showed up at my door. 23 years old, curious about the grandfather his mother never talked about. We started having breakfast once a month, then once a week. He asked me about my life. Really asked, really listened. I never told him about Ivan. What was the point? The past is a tomb. You don't dig up bodies. But now the past isn't buried anymore. It's alive, successful, running Kingsley Global Solutions out of a glass building 90 miles from here, hiring my grandson to organize his books, and Linda, God bless her, listened when I called at dawn. She's 70 now, remarried to a kind man named Robert. We're not enemies anymore. Time softens some things. We meet for coffee twice a year, trade small talk. But when I told her Ivan's name, I heard something in her voice I hadn't heard in 30 years. Recognition and rage. "What do you need, Cyril?" she asked. "Joel starts Monday. He'll have access to their accounting systems. If Ivan's still who he was, if he's still cutting corners, hiding money, Joel will see it. But I need to know what to tell him to look for. You worked in accounting before we married. You know how these things hide." Silence on the line. Then, "You're really going to do this?" "He took everything, Linda, and he's walking around like none of it happened. Like I didn't exist. Our grandson is shaking his hand right now, calling him Mr. Kingsley, and Ivan has no idea he's letting Amaro through the door. And if Joel finds something, then we finish what 1995 started. Legally. Carefully. I'm not that angry young man anymore. I'm a patient old one. And I've waited 30 years. I can wait a little longer if it means doing this right." Another pause. Then Linda said something I'll never forget. "I left you, Cyril. But I never stopped believing you were the one Ivan wronged. If you're doing this, if Joel's willing, I'll help. But you can't let rage drive. You have to be smarter than Ivan was. Colder. You understand?" "I understand." "Then tell me what Joel's position is, and I'll write up a list. Things to watch for. Patterns. Red flags. If Ivan's built an empire on fraud, there will be cracks. Men like him always get arrogant." We talked for 2 hours. By the time we hung up, I had pages of notes. Now comes the hard part, telling Joel who his new boss really is. You think you know how this ends. You don't, because the man who destroyed me has no idea his own daughter is about to become our greatest ally. Hit subscribe. This is where it gets dangerous. And I need you with me. I met Joel at the diner on Saturday morning. Not the one on Route 9. I haven't been back there since 1995. This was a small place near his apartment, the kind with laminated menus and waitresses who call everyone honey. He was already sitting in a booth when I arrived, scrolling through his phone, practicing that eager young professional look. Clean shirt, nice watch, hair combed, ready to start his career on Monday. I almost walked back out, almost let him have his innocence a little longer. But then he looked up and smiled, and I saw Rosemary in his face, my daughter, before the hardness set in, before I failed her. I couldn't let him walk into that building blind. "Grandpa." He stood, hugged me. Strong kid. Good heart. "I already ordered coffee. Want to split the breakfast special?" "My treat. First paycheck's coming." "Joel, sit down. I need to talk to you about something." The shift in my voice made him pause. He sat slowly, reading my face. He's smart, my grandson. Observant. That's why he'll be good at forensic accounting. That's why this might actually work. "What's wrong?" I pulled out an old photograph. Kept it in my wallet for 30 years, though I'm not sure why. Punishment, maybe. Reminder. It showed 2 men standing in front of a construction sign. Kingsley and Morrow Construction, 1989. Ivan and me, arms around each other's shoulders, grinning like we'd just conquered the world. We had, in a way, for a while. Joel picked up the photo, studied it. "Is that you?" "That's me, and that's Ivan Kingsley." His face went pale, actually drained of color right there across the table. "What?" "Your new boss. The man who's going to mentor you on Monday. That's my old business partner, the one who destroyed everything." The coffee sat untouched between us, cooling. Joel kept staring at the photograph, then at me, then back at the photograph. "I don't." "Grandpa, I don't understand. You had a business?" That's when I realized how much Rosemary had erased me from our family history. Joel knew I worked warehouses, lived in a small apartment, that his mother and I were estranged. But he didn't know why. He didn't know there was a before. So I told him, every detail. The diner lunch on August 14th, the police on August 15th, the forged signatures, the empty accounts, the perfect crime, Linda leaving, Rosemary's scream, the years in legal hell, finding Ivan in 1998 untouchable, watching him walk free while I worked night shifts at 63 years old. Joel didn't interrupt once, just listened, his hands flat on the table, knuckles white. When I finished, he said quietly, "Mom never told me any of this. Your mother was 16 when it happened. She watched me become someone she didn't recognize, someone bitter and broken. I don't blame her for wanting to forget." "But you didn't forget." "No, I never forgot." Joel pushed the coffee away, leaned back. I watched him process it, the math, the timeline, the implications. This is what makes him good at what he does. He sees patterns. "Monday," he said slowly. "I start Monday. I'll have access to their internal systems. Full accounting access." "Yes." "And you think, what, that he's still committing fraud?" I pulled out Linda's notes, pages of them, detailed, methodical, what to look for, offshore accounts, shell companies, inflated contracts, double books, the anatomy of corporate fraud, written by someone who understood how thieves think. "I think men like Ivan don't change," I said. "They just get better at hiding. 30 years ago he was sloppy enough to get caught. Now, he's had 3 decades to perfect it. But if he's built that company the same way he built ours, on lies and stolen money, there will be evidence. You just have to know where to look." Joel took the pages, read through them slowly. When he looked up, his eyes were different, harder. "If I find something, proof, what happens then?" That's the question I'd been asking myself for 3 days. What did I want? Prison? Public humiliation? To watch Ivan lose everything the way I did? "I don't know yet," I admitted. "But I know this. You don't have to do anything illegal. You don't have to steal files or break into offices. You just have to look at what they show you. Be thorough. Be the ethical accountant they hired. If there's fraud, it'll be in the numbers. And if it's in the numbers, you'll see it. And if I see it, then we decide together what justice looks like." Joel was quiet for a long time. Outside, traffic hummed past. Someone's phone rang 3 booths over. Normal Saturday morning sounds in a world that was about to tilt. Finally, my grandson said, "Mom's going to be furious with you." "Probably. She'll say you're using me, manipulating me for revenge." "Maybe I am." "Are you?" I looked at this young man, 26 years old, his whole career ahead of him, offering to walk into the fire because I asked. Was I using him? Yes. Was it revenge? I didn't know anymore. Revenge felt too small for what I wanted. Too hot, too impulsive. This was colder. This was balancing books that had been unbalanced for 30 years. "I'm giving you a choice, Joel. You can walk into that building Monday and do your job. Ignore everything I told you. Build your career with a man who might be legitimate now. Or you can look. Really look. And if you find something, we'll figure out what to do together. But the choice is yours." He stood up. For a moment I thought he was leaving. Thought I'd pushed too far, asked too much. Instead, he picked up the photograph of Ivan and me, pocketed it, and said, "I'll call you Monday night, after my first day." Then he walked out, leaving me alone with cold coffee and 30 years of ghosts. I don't know if I did the right thing. I don't know if asking my grandson to be my eyes inside Ivan's empire makes me wise or makes me exactly what Rosemary thinks I am, a bitter old man who can't let go. But Monday morning, Joel Morrow walks into Kingsley Global Solutions, and Ivan has no idea he just hired the enemy. Monday night, 9:47 p.m. My phone rang. "Grandpa, we need to meet, now." Joel's voice was tight, controlled. That's how I knew it was bad. We met at a 24-hour parking garage downtown, 3rd level, away from cameras. Dramatic, maybe. But Joel insisted. Said he didn't want to risk being seen together near his apartment. When I got there, he was sitting in his car, staring at his laptop. Didn't even look up when I opened the passenger door. "Joel." He turned the screen toward me. I found it. 5 hours in, Grandpa. 5 hours, and I found it. What I saw made my stomach drop. Spreadsheets, accounts, transactions that didn't match invoices, payments to companies that didn't exist when you searched the corporate registry. It was 1995 all over again, just bigger, smoother, more sophisticated. This company, Joel tapped a name, Crescent Holdings, LLC, receives quarterly payments of $180,000. When I cross-referenced it with vendor contracts, there's no matching work, no invoices, nothing. It's just money going out. How many accounts like this? 7 that I've found so far. Different names, different amounts, but same pattern. Payments out, no services rendered. Grandpa, we're talking millions, just in the last 3 years alone. 30 years. Ivan had been doing this for 30 years, and nobody caught him. Or maybe they did, and he paid them off, promoted them, made them complicit. Is it possible it's legitimate? I had to ask, had to be sure. Tax shelters, legal offshore holdings. No. Joel's voice was flat. I checked. These aren't listed on any of the corporate disclosures. They're not in the official books that go to auditors. I only found them because I was granted full system access today and started exploring architecture. There's a second set of files. Grandpa, hidden directories, password protected, but my admin credentials got me in. A second set of books, the oldest trick, and it worked because most people don't look. But here's the thing that doesn't make sense. Joel pulled up another file. These accounts, they're not in Ivan's name. They're registered to Thea Kingsley, his daughter. She's the CFO. Her signature is on everything. The world tilted. Thea. Little Thea, 7 years old, playing in my backyard. She'd be 33 now, CFO of her father's company, and, according to these files, either complicit in fraud or the perfect scapegoat. Is she in on it? I asked. I don't know. That's the problem. Either she's running the scheme or her father set her up to take the fall if anyone ever looks. But Grandpa, Joel's voice cracked. She was kind to me today. Really kind. Showed me around the office herself, introduced me to everyone, made jokes, asked about my family. She doesn't seem like a criminal, I finished. Neither did her father. Joel closed the laptop, sat back. We were quiet in the dark car, third level of a parking garage with evidence of massive fraud glowing between us. There's something else, he said finally. I went into Ivan's office today. He wanted to meet me personally, welcome me to the team. And when I shook his hand, Grandpa, he looked right at me and said, "You have good bones, son. I can tell you come from solid people." The irony was a knife. He has no idea, Joel continued. No idea that my last name is Morrow, that my mother's maiden name is Morrow. On all my employment documents, I'm Joel Patterson, my father's name. The background check didn't flag anything because why would it? You and I reconnected after Mom and I had our falling out. It's not in any family records they'd search. Ivan welcomed my grandson into his office, complimented his character, shook his hand, the hand of a Morrow. And Ivan smiled. What do we do? Joel asked. Do I go to the police, the SEC, or do I keep digging? That's when I should have said, go to the authorities. Let justice be legal and official. But 30 years of silence, of watching Ivan walk free, of knowing the system failed me before, it choked the words. Keep digging, I said, carefully. If Thea's involved, we need to know how deep. If she's innocent, she might be our way in. Someone on the inside who doesn't know she's sitting on evidence. And if she does know, if she's protecting him, then she's as guilty as he is, I almost said. But something stopped me. Maybe the memory of her at 7 years old. Maybe the possibility that Ivan's daughter was another kind of victim. 1 week, I said. Learn the office, build trust, watch Thea, see if she acts like someone hiding something or someone being used. Can you do that? Joel stared at his laptop, then at me. Mom would kill me if she knew. Your mother doesn't have to know. Not yet. This could ruin my career, Grandpa. If anyone finds out I'm related to you, that I'm digging into their books for personal reasons, then don't get caught. You're a forensic accountant, Joel. This is what you're trained for. You're just doing your job exceptionally well." He almost smiled. Almost. We sat there until security made rounds, then left separately. I drove home through empty streets, hands steady on the wheel, heart hammering against my ribs. Joel found evidence in 5 hours. 5 hours? How much more was there? How many other people had Ivan stolen from? How high did this go? And Thea, Ivan's daughter, Mona's daughter, the little girl who called me Uncle Cyril, was she the architect or another casualty? I got home at midnight, couldn't sleep, sat at my kitchen table with old photographs spread in front of me, Ivan and me, our families. Christmas 1994, the last one before everything ended. There was Thea in a red dress, gap-toothed smile holding a doll. If she was innocent, if Ivan had made her his unwitting shield, then destroying him might destroy her too. If she was guilty, if she'd known what her father was and helped him do it, then she deserved whatever came. But I didn't know which, and that uncertainty gnawed at me like hunger. My phone buzzed. Text from Joel. Found an encrypted folder labeled MK Personal. Can't access yet. Working on it. MK. Mona Kingsley. Ivan's late wife. Why would there be personal files from her in the company's hidden directories? I texted back, "Careful, don't rush." 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Then, "Grandpa, what if we're wrong? What if it's all legitimate and we're seeing patterns that aren't there because we want them to be?" I stared at that message for a long time. Then I typed, "Then we apologize and walk away." But Joel, we're not wrong. I've lived with this ghost for 30 years. I know his shape. No response. Just those 3 dots, pulsing. Then nothing. I turned off my phone and sat in the dark. Somewhere across this city, Ivan Kingsley was sleeping in a bed bought with stolen money, dreaming whatever dreams thieves dream. And his daughter, Thea, little Thea, was either sleeping soundly or staring at ceilings, knowing what she'd done. Either way, the walls were closing in. They just didn't know it yet. Tomorrow, Joel goes back. And what he finds in Mona's encrypted files will change everything we thought we knew. This isn't revenge anymore. This is something else. Something bigger. Hit subscribe. You're in this now. There's no turning back. Wednesday, 2:30 p.m. Joel sent me an address and 3 words. Come now, alone. It was a coffee shop in a strip mall, generic and forgettable. When I walked in, Joel was sitting in the back corner booth. He wasn't alone. Thea Kingsley sat across from him. Every instinct screamed at me to turn around. This was a trap. She knew. Ivan knew. We were finished. But then Thea looked up, and I saw her face. She'd been crying. "Mr. Morrow," she said quietly, "please sit down." The sound of my name in her voice, the first time I'd heard it spoken by a Kingsley in 30 years, made my legs weak. I sat. Joel looked pale, shaken. "Grandpa, just listen." Thea's hands were wrapped around a coffee cup, knuckles white. She was 33 now, but I could still see the 7-year-old girl. Same dark eyes. Same nervous habit of biting her lower lip. "I know who you are," she said. "I've known since Monday. When Joel submitted his background check, I saw his mother's maiden name in the emergency contacts section. Rosemary Morrow Patterson. It took me 10 seconds to connect it." My heart stopped. "Does your father?" "No, he doesn't look at HR files. He barely knows Joel's first name. But I do. I look at everything." She paused, set down the cup. "Mr. Morrow, I need to tell you something, and I need you to believe me, even though you have no reason to." Silence. The coffee shop's background noise felt 1,000 miles away. "My mother told me the truth before she died. 5 years ago. Cancer. in her last weeks, when the morphine made her honest. Thea's voice broke. She said my father destroyed you, that he stole everything and let you take the blame, that she knew, that she helped him pack the night before he ran. The room tilted. Mona knew. Ivan's wife, Linda's best friend, knew and helped him escape. She told me about the offshore accounts, the shell companies, how he'd been planning it for 2 years before he disappeared. She said— Thea stopped, swallowed hard. She said the guilt ate her alive, that she wanted to come forward 100 times, but he threatened to take me away if she did. So she stayed silent, and it killed her. Not the cancer, the guilt. Joel reached across the table, touched her hand. A gesture of comfort I didn't expect. When Mom died, I started looking, Thea continued. I found the accounts, the false invoices, decades of fraud, and I confronted him. Her eyes met mine. He laughed, Mr. Morrow. He said I was naive, that business is war and you were a casualty, that I could either help him continue or watch him burn everything down and take me with him. So you helped him, I said. My voice was ice. No. She shook her head fiercely. I've spent 5 years trying to undo it. Every fraudulent account I found, I quietly closed. Every shell company I dissolved. I've been returning money through legitimate channels, hiding it in settlements and contract renegotiations. But it's slow. So slow. Because if my father catches on, he'll what? He'll trigger the failsafe. Everything, all the fraud, all the evidence, it's in my name. He made me CFO 3 years ago specifically for this. If anyone investigates, I'm the signature on every document. He's been setting me up to take the fall since I turned 21. The pieces fell into place. Thea wasn't the architect. She was the insurance policy. The encrypted folder, Joel said. The one labeled MK Personal. Grandpa, Thea gave me the password last night. It's not business files, it's letters. From her mother to her. Written over 10 years, never sent. Confessions, apologies. A complete record of everything Ivan did. Thea pulled out a flash drive, set it on the table between us. This is everything. Mom's letters, my documentation of every fraudulent account, 5 years of evidence. I was going to take it to the authorities eventually when I'd cleaned up enough that I might not go to prison with him. But then Joel arrived, and I realized this was it, the universe giving me a chance to make this right. I stared at the flash drive. 30 years of answers in a small piece of plastic. Why are you giving this to me? I asked. Because you deserve justice. Because my mother's last words were, find Cyril Morrow and tell him I'm sorry. Because I'm tired of being my father's hostage. She pushed the drive toward me. But I need something from you. Here it comes, I thought. The catch. The trap. I need you to let me help finish this. Not just expose him, dismantle him, legally, completely. Every client he defrauded gets made whole. Every account gets closed properly. And then, her voice hardened. Then we make sure he never rebuilds. He's your father, I said. He stopped being my father the night he destroyed yours. Thea's eyes were dry now, clear. I've been his daughter for 33 years. I've earned the right to stop. Joel spoke up. Grandpa, I verified the files. They're legitimate. Mona documented everything. Dates, amounts, account numbers. And Thea's been systematically fixing it. We're talking about $18 million in fraudulent transactions over 3 decades. But nearly $6 million has already been quietly returned through Thea's work. $18 million. Ivan didn't just steal from me. He built an empire on theft. What's your plan? I asked Thea. She pulled out a folder, thick, organized. We file a formal report with the SEC and the State Attorney General. I provide testimony as a whistleblower. Mom's letters establish the original fraud. My documentation shows the ongoing conspiracy. Joel's forensic analysis proves the pattern. And you, she looked at me. You're the original victim, the one who can testify to Ivan's methodology. He'll destroy you, I said. "He's already destroyed me, Mr. Morrow. I'm just making it official." We sat there, 3 generations of damage at one table, the daughter of my destroyer, the grandson I barely knew 3 years ago, and me, 72 years old, holding the weapon I'd waited 30 years to find. "There's one more thing," Thea said softly. "When this breaks, it needs to break publicly, not just legal consequences. I want everyone to know what he did. To you, to the others. I want him to stand in the wreckage of his reputation the way you did." That's when I understood. This wasn't just justice. This was family destroying family to save itself. "Okay," I heard myself say. "We do this together, but we do it right. No cutting corners, no revenge that becomes cruelty. We dismantle him brick by brick, legally, completely. And when it's done, Thea finished, we're free." Joel looked at both of us. "This is going to get ugly." "It's been ugly for 30 years, I said. "At least now it'll be honest." The ghost is about to become flesh, and when he does, he'll learn exactly what he created. This is the moment. The walls close in. Subscribe now, because what happens in the final chapter you will not see coming. I promise you that. 3 weeks later, Ivan Kingsley opened his Wall Street Journal to see his own face staring back at him. Former partner exposes. Decades of corporate fraud. Whistleblower daughter testifies against father. Joel sent me a photo of Ivan's office that morning. Security footage, time-stamped 6:47 a.m. Ivan standing at his desk, newspaper in hand, completely still. Frozen. The moment a man realizes his kingdom is made of paper. By noon, the SEC had frozen every account. The state attorney general filed criminal charges. 18 counts of wire fraud, conspiracy, money laundering. Clients started calling, then the media, then the lawyers. Kingsley Global Solutions stock, they'd gone public 5 years ago, dropped 73% before trading was halted. But I wasn't watching the news. I was sitting in Linda's living room, holding her hand, while we read Mona's letters together. All 47 of them. Written to Thea, never sent. Hidden in a safety deposit box with instructions to open them after Mona's death. "Dear Thea, you were 3 years old when I became complicit in evil. I tell myself I did it for you. But that's a lie. I did it because I was a coward." Linda cried. So did I. For Mona, who carried that guilt to her grave. For Thea, who spent 5 years trying to fix her mother's sins. For all of us who got caught in Ivan's machine. The trial took 9 months. I testified on day 3, walked through every detail of 1995, the forged signatures, the empty accounts. The morning the police came. Linda testified too. So did 12 other victims we never knew existed. Small business owners from North Carolina, Atlanta, Boston. People Ivan had destroyed after he destroyed me. Thea testified for 6 hours. Calm. Methodical. She walked the jury through every shell company, every hidden account, every fraudulent transaction. Showed them her mother's letters. Explained how she'd spent 5 years trying to undo it while her father threatened to frame her if she exposed him. The defense tried to paint her as the mastermind. Tried to say she was deflecting blame. But Joel's forensic analysis proved the timeline. The fraud started decades before Thea had access. She was 23 when she became CFO. The accounts were 15 years old. Ivan never took the stand. Just sat there, day after day, in an expensive suit, watching his daughter dismantle him. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Sentencing came 2 months later. 15 years. At 68 years old, Ivan would be 83 when he got out. If he got out. I was there in the courtroom. So was Joel. So was Thea. When the judge read the sentence, Ivan finally looked at us. Really looked. His eyes met mine across the gallery. And I saw it. Recognition. Understanding. He finally knew who Joel was. Finally put together that his new accountant was the grandson of the man he'd destroyed. that his own daughter had allied with the enemy. He opened his mouth like he wanted to say something. But what was there to say? Sorry. Too small. Too late. The bailiff led him away in handcuffs. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Thea read a brief statement. My father's crimes hurt dozens of families. I will spend the rest of my career making restitution. Kingsley Global Solutions is being restructured under independent management. Every defrauded client will be made whole. Someone shouted a question. Do you still love your father? Thea paused. I love who I thought he was. I grieve the father I never actually had, but I will not carry his sins anymore. We left through a side entrance. The three of us, Thea, Joel, and me. That night I called Rosemary, first time in 8 years. She answered on the 4th ring. Mom, I said, I need to tell you something about your son, and about me, and about why I disappeared from your life. We talked for 3 hours. She cried. I cried. Joel sat beside me on speakerphone, holding my hand. By the end, Rosemary said, I'm sorry I blamed you. I'm sorry I didn't understand. I gave you nothing to understand, I told her. I was drowning, and I took you down with me. But maybe we can try again? We're trying. Slowly. Sunday dinners once a month now. She and Thea have coffee every week. Turns out they both needed to talk to someone who understood what it's like to have a father disappear. Linda comes sometimes, too. Her husband, Robert, doesn't mind. He's a good man, understands that some families are built from wreckage. 6 months after the sentencing, Joel quit his corporate job, started his own forensic accounting firm specializing in fraud recovery. Thea hired him as a consultant to help finish cleaning up her father's mess. And me? I'm 73 now, still living in that small apartment, but it doesn't feel like a tomb anymore. Last month I got a letter, prison stationery, Ivan's handwriting. I almost threw it away, but curiosity is a powerful thing. It said, Cyril, I have no defense, no excuse. What I did to you was evil. I tell myself I did it for my family, but that's a lie. I did it because I could, because I was weak and you trusted me. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know, you won. Not because I'm in prison, but because you became the man I pretended to be. You stayed honest when I made you pay for it. And your grandson has more integrity in his little finger than I ever had in my whole body. That's your legacy. Not the bankruptcy, not the years I stole, the fact that you built a good man despite me. I'm sorry, Cyril, for what little that's worth. Ivan. I read it 3 times, then I put it in a drawer. Maybe someday I'll respond. Maybe not. Forgiveness is complicated. It's not a switch you flip. It's a long road you walk, and I'm still walking. But here's what I know. I'm free. The ghost is gone. Not because Ivan's in prison, but because I chose to let the hate go, to build something instead of just burning things down. Joel's firm is thriving. Thea's company is legitimate now. Rosemary and I are learning how to be family again. And Linda. Linda smiles when she sees me now. Real smiles. That's justice. Not revenge, not punishment. Just the slow work of making things right. Sometimes I think about that phone call. Joel's voice excited about his new job, the moment everything changed. And I wonder, was it fate? Coincidence? Divine intervention? I don't know. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe what matters is that when the opportunity came, we chose truth over silence, justice over bitterness, family over fear. Ivan Kingsley took 30 years from me, but he didn't take everything, because I'm still here, still building, still loving, and in the end, that's the only revenge that matters. Thank you for walking this road with me, for listening to an old man's story, for believing that justice is possible, even after 30 years. If this moved you, if it reminded you that it's never too late to fight for truth, please subscribe, share this, and tell me your story in the comments, because we all have ghosts, and maybe, together, we can lay them to rest. This is Cyril Morrow, signing off. But not giving up. Never giving up.